It is Mr. Shadow. Today I am going to do a market analysis video. Haven't done one in about 2 weeks here. I have drawn out a map to help guide us in what is now officially the bear cycle. We're on our way down, which I hope for most of you is the most exciting thing you've heard yet this year and still early 2026. Today is February 15th of 2026. We're going to look and focus on Bitcoin's chart. In particular, I am going to give you some price targets, areas that I'll be buying crypto. I'm going to tell you exactly what cryptos I'm going to focus on. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it. This is gonna be very heavy on the trading view, market analysis side because I want people to understand the why. I keep talking about you should be buying Bitcoin. Um, I'm focusing on the when you should be buying Bitcoin, but I also want you to understand the why. When I say do your own research, you can, of course, look at charts yourself. You can find other creators that can help explain things in a similar or different way to get different viewpoints. But my version of research is going to be these here charts. And so, with that said, let's get straight into it. All right. What we have here is a map. It is not a map that predicts the future. It is a map that explains the past and helps us to infer future price action. Now, I'm going to start talking through a couple key items I have on here so that we can continue. First and foremost, this blue channel here is Bitcoin's price action going back to roughly April 16th, as you can see in the bottom of the left, right? When I move this cursor around, you can notice the price will be in the line, horizontal line to the right. And then to the bottom, we have the date. So April 2016, end of April is how far back this blue channel, all of the price action within this blue channel here, which gives us a good deal of confidence. That's a 10-year time period. So that is a very good map of past events, right? That's going to help us determine, to some extent, future events. What else do I have? And I tell you, right, multi price channel here. Trend line, March 9th, 2020. That is this guy right here. This burnt orange channel. And that is going to be very important as we get into this conversation. That goes back to March 9th, 2020, right? Again, look at the cursor. You can see in the bottom of the screen, March 9th, 2020. That's still 6 years worth of price history there. A very, very important channel that we're going to talk to. A couple other lines that I wrote here, right? This line here, this was our local resistance at the top here. We were tracking that to see if we were going to break it. That was going to help us determine if we're really going into a bear cycle. We have broke it. This line here was the 2024 high, right? We bounced right here before continuing up. We've since broken through that as well. That was at roughly 75,000. This line here is the 2021 cycle high, right? So this is 2021 cycle high, roughly 69,000 or so. That's another key marker. And then this was 2021 initial top support. So that was this area here. Let me circle some of these just so that everyone is following along with me on this because so right, I'm talking about This is the, right, 2021 high. Here was the initial top high, right? I want you to follow along with me here. When I say local resistance, that's because this was support right here. When I say 2024 high support, right? Here's the supports. Okay, now we have all these circle. You know where these lines are coming from. Why do I care about those lines uh at all? Well, I've been saying for a couple months now, if you've been following along, that I would start buying Bitcoin again at roughly $80,000, which is this support where I got it from, right? None of these numbers are random. I bought Bitcoin at roughly 75,000. Why? Key support. I bought Bitcoin at roughly 69,000. Why? Key support. Same here at roughly 65,000. Key support. Now, I've been on a weekly chart because I want you to see the zoomed out full picture, this full map. As we get drilled down, I'm going to get into lower time frames for us. Okay, so I'm going to come to the top, daily chart. I'm going to draw another line where I have also bought Bitcoin, and that is down here at $60,000, which is the low point that Bitcoin fell all the way to. This point right here. These are all points where I have now bought Bitcoin, right? Now, what am I describing here? This is dollar cost averaging. Now, there's a lot of ways to dollar cost average. You can dollar cost average by buying a little bit of Bitcoin every single day. You can dollar cost average by buying Bitcoin at key structural areas, which is what I'm doing. You can buy Bitcoin every month. It's also a form of dollar cost averaging. You can buy every week. You can buy once a quarter. It's just all DCA dollar cost averaging is buying at intervals, specific intervals. How you define those intervals and how much you spend on each purchase is up to you. I'm going to explain the way that I do it. I buy at key support lines. That's my strategy. Now, what we talked about this supports this burnt orange-ish support channel. Why is that important? We'll go back to a weekly chart here for a second. We first entered this chart or this channel back here, right? March. When we broke out of this channel, I want us to notice a couple things. Number one, how long did we spend inside this channel? From here to here, the first breakout was 252 days. 3/4 of a year or so. Right? A long time. But when we broke out, look what Bitcoin's price did. Went from roughly $15,000 up here to this top. That is a 314% increase. Back in 2020, when we broke out of this channel, this orangish channel. What other price history do we have in relation to this channel? Well, we see here on the way down, when the price was falling, it didn't fall straight through this in one clean shot. It kind of hung out a little bit right here, right? it kind of got caught inside of this where if we go to a daily chart here, it'll show it a bit more clear. Okay. Each one of these bars now represents a day. You can see how fast the price was moving on Monday, May 9th, right? This was the high, this was the low. So on May 9th, we had a high of 35,000, we had a low of 30,000. That's a big a big drop, right? But once we got inside of this channel, see how small the price action becomes? We're kind of tied up in here. We're bouncing around at this midpoint line, this dotted line. That's the 50% line within the channel. We kind of got price action tied up in here. And that's important. We'll come back to this again later, but again, part of the reason is because these channels that we develop over time, price history, it it translates into the future and becomes areas of resistance and support. So all of this price action in here in 2020, all of this price history, flash forward to 2022, when we found ourselves back within this channel, it tied us up. It acted as support to hold us within this channel before we fell out of it. Let's flash forward a bit. Back in 2023, December of 2023, as we're trying to rally back up from the bottom of this channel, again, we don't just shoot through this channel. We were hitting our heads on here. We first approached it on December 4th. We didn't actually get in and hold until back here, December or February 9th. That's 67 days that we kind of hit our head, came down, hit our head, came down, hit our head, came down, broke through to this 50% level, rejection all the way down here out of the channel. We finally get in, we break through, but notice what happens. Do we just break through this and continue up to this new local high here? No. This red right here, we actually come back to the top of the channel, right? See this red? We broke through it. We come back to the top of the channel to test it as support. And once we do, from there, we're kind of off to the races here. This is a 45% gain in roughly 16 days. See the importance of this orangish, burnt orange channel yet? Right? What was this? Right? Notice we did the same thing here, right? When we broke through, look, down, back test, touch the top of the channel, and from here to here, over 138 days, we did 300%. Do we think that channel there might be important? We got tied up inside of it on the way down. We hit our head here for several days, months before breaking through. And when we do, after hitting our head on the channel for 3 months, when we finally break through it, losing internet there for a second. When we finally break through this channel, go from the bottom of it to the top, 61% gain in 32 days, 1 month. When we came back to test this channel as support to make sure that this area is still support, notice the price. I'm trying, what I'm trying to build to here is the importance of this channel and the importance of previous price action. So from here, roughly $50,000, right? We come back to this mark right here and test it as support, right? We test it as support. That's not an accident. It's not an accident. And from there, 100% gain in 101 days, 4 or 5 months or so. Where do we find ourselves right now? Let's see. Today, February 15th, I said that in the beginning of the video, right? We are inside of this orange channel. Inside of this orange channel. When we go back and look at history, the last bear cycle we saw, what happened after we started this big descent, this big downward action? We hung out for how long? Let's take a peek. I'm going to go from the very bottom here, right? We actually went through it so sharply, ended up coming back into the channel, and then we didn't officially fall out of it until 32 days later. Let's do this. Let's draw a line same distance. Now, this is just going to be a bit of projection. We're going to go from this bottom mark here. And we're going to go out 32 days. Okay? And I'm going to draw a vertical line here just for reference. Right there. Okay? 32 days. But you know what I noticed about this bear cycle compared to the last? From this peak down to this bottom where we shot through right before we went back up into the channel to this bottom, that was 183 days. That's how long it took us to have that sharp sort of decline. 183 days. How long do you think it takes us to go from here to this bottom? Well, let's find out. Sunday the 5th to this bottom. Well, we can't really see it. Let's make it so we can. That is 124 days. That's less, right? 124 days compared to, we said, this was roughly, no, let's get this correct. 188 days. So roughly 60 days or so sooner. What percentage is that? Let's do some quick math here. 124 divided by 184. 67%. That means we are roughly 33% or so faster in this decline than we were previously. Does that mean anything? It might not. It might not. Might not at all. What it might tell me though is that if this line is the equivalent of the previous cycle, the time it took for the previous cycle to get through, would it be reasonable to say that we could go lower faster based on how fast we dropped from this peak down to this point? Perhaps. Now, I'm not going to try to nail down and give you an exact time frame. What I will do is say, if I drew another vertical line here and said, we could be dropping out of this box to come lower sometime within this zone, sometime sooner than this vertical line, would that make sense to people? I'm going to erase it. You think about that. Something that we covered before is what we call bear flags. What is a bear flag? A bear flag is a decline followed by a slightly rising channel ending with another sharp decline. I'm going to all right. Here's your flag, slightly increasing channel. This is your pole, this sharp decrease. And what we get from that is another decrease. And what we can do is say something like the flagpole, the length of that flagpole is about the distance of that following pole, that lower pole. Now you see in this scenario, this goes far extended from here, right? Does that tell us we still have some downward action to go? Perhaps. Let's look at some other bear flags. Previous cycle. This channel we were talking about earlier is already the slightly ascending channel. I don't have to draw out a new one. We came down. Here's your pole. Right? Here's your flag. And from there, we got downward action. Now, again, you'll notice, well, we didn't go as low as you're saying with this drawing. First and foremost, this is not an exact science, right? These are projection tools. Nothing, I can't tell the future. These are projection tools. But it kind of makes sense, right? These bear flags make sense, I hope. We've talked about bull flags previously. This is a bull flag. It's the exact opposite. An upward pole, slightly downwards action. I draw a channel to make it make more sense, right? Here's the flag, upward pole, Downward channel gives you upward price action compared to downward pull, upward flag, downward price action. What do you see here? Downward pull, slightly upward flag. I drew out a more exact flag here based on these daily bottoms, but the price action just so happens to be within this same orange channel that goes all the way back to March 9th, 2020. The same place this price action took place before the move downward, the same place this price action took place before the large move upward, the same place we found support on here and here before this upward action. I have done this previously to show you kind of what a bear cycle looks like, what you could expect. When I was telling people that this is what we might see when we were here, and I said this downwards pull and this upward action, this looks like a bear flag. I could easily see us going down. We did. Went down. Now, when I draw a copy paste of the previous cycle, notice how it has all this projected price action within this channel. Is this exactly where we find ourselves right now? No, right? We're still within this channel, but is the timing correct? It is not, because we stated earlier, right, that this is happening faster than the previous cycle, right? That's why if I do a copy paste, it has us out into the May timeframe that we would be down here. But we fell so quickly, we're already in that channel now. Why am I bringing any of this up? What I am trying to tell people as I go back to a weekly chart here is that the time that you make money in cryptocurrency is by buying at the bottom of the channel. Buying here. This is where you make money. Buying all of this. All of this. That is the place that you make money. How long did you have to do that in the previous cycle? Well, I'm going to say if you started here at $18,000 once we exited this channel and hit a local bottom, and you were buying all of this, even to the point of here before we left the bottom of the channel, you had roughly 500 days. That is roughly 1 year to buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly could. But bear in mind, this bear cycle seems to be happening faster than the previous one. At some point, I expect something like this to happen. Are you following me? At some point. Now that's rough. I'm making shit up, right? So ignore the terrible drawing. Focus on the fact that what I'm trying to tell you is that at some point we are going to break out of what appears to be another bear flag inside of this gold channel. And we are going to come down towards the bottom of this channel. So if you have limit orders set to buy Bitcoin strategically, let me get rid of all this squiggly. Strategically at key zones, places like this 65,000, this 60,000, potentially even down here. If I draw another line at another bottom, right? Could we go as low as $49,000? Yep, we sure could. This is what I've done. Okay. I'm telling you, this is not financial advice. This is what I have done. You can do whatever you would like. What I have done is I have marked out this bottom, which just happened in early February, and this bottom, which was the low going back to the July or August 24 bull run. And I said, okay, then I'm gonna buy crypto in this range. Here, here, and here. Those are my targets. Those are my targets. So what I did is I decided to make a little tool tell me where to set those limit orders. And how much to potentially spend. I'm not going to leave this up for long, but you can take a screenshot if you'd like. Here are the markers. I went to the zones I was just mapping out here. That's where I would expect support to be. I said I'm going to add 2.5% just to make sure if it doesn't quite touch the zone and it goes back up, I don't miss a buying opportunity. These are the cryptos I am going to be focusing on. And I'm going to spread my money out. Here's the zones, how much I'm spending in each zone, right? Based on my allocation percentages. I'm spending the most money, 35% on Bitcoin, 20% on Ethereum, 13% on Solana, 11% on Chainlink, 11% on XRP, 10% on Dogecoin for now. Later in the bear cycle, I might start buying some other crypto depending on what price action looks like. I might buy more or less of these, but to start, I'm going to spread some money out at key locations for key cryptos. This is not financial advice. You should not blindly copy my investment strategy. But I do hope that that investment strategy makes some sense to you in terms of the way that I am dollar cost averaging. I'm not blindly buying at random times. I'm spending money on a select number of cryptos, a predetermined percentage based on how I want my portfolio to be balanced. And I personally am going to be evenly entering these amounts. Now, there are others that will decide I'm not going to put in $10,000 at three different locations. Instead, I'm expecting it to hit the bottom and I want to get the lowest possible price. So I'm only going to put $5,000 in at the top point, and then $10,000 at the midpoint. I'm going to double it. And then $15,000 at the bottom point, going higher as the price goes lower so that I get the lowest possible dollar average value. That's another strategy. I personally tend to just even them out. And again, I have been buying since $80,000. We're now sitting at 68,000. When we go back down to 60, I'm going to buy again. In my ebook, I gave people estimates. I talked about market cycles and I gave people estimates. Bull market, peak, bear market, trough. Estimates 2024, 2025 to 2026 was a projected bull market. The projected bear market. These are not correct. That's why they're projections. In the same way that if I do a copy paste of previous price action from here to here, and I overlay it up here, it doesn't line up perfectly, right? We're way ahead of schedule. It's because I don't have this crystal ball where I can see into the future and give you exact time periods. I can't do that. What I can do is create a map of past price action and use that to help determine estimated future price action. And based on that info, I know that if I was buying Bitcoin at $20,000 in January of 2023, by the time we got to October of 2025, I had made 440% on my money. Your time to make that type of gain, if you want the 400% gain, you need to be buying Bitcoin as we approach the bottom of this channel. When is that going to be? I can't give you exact data. I can give you estimates. It could start tomorrow. It could start March. It could be in April. But right now, in this map, you are here. In the old map, you are here. If that's your main takeaway, if you want the gains from down here to up here, right now on this map, you are here. You know those, you go to like a theme park, a Six Flags, and there's those big maps, and you're looking and you're trying to figure out where you are. And yeah, looking around, there's a little circle that says you are here. There you go. This is your circle. You are here. So buying time is coming up here. It's technically already started if you're trying to accumulate. You can hold out for lower prices. You can set marks for lower prices, but you are here, and buying time in this bear market is upcoming. So get under this channel here. Anything under 66,000 or so, good place to buy crypto. Good place to buy Bitcoin specifically. You start getting into this green box. This is a great buy zone. $60,000, $55,000, a $50,000 Bitcoin could easily be 150, 160, $170,000 Bitcoin as we come up here to the 2030s. And now this video is going to be on YouTube. This video is going to be on Discord. And we're going to come back to it in January of 2030. And if I'm right, I'm probably going to gloat a bit here. Just letting you know. This is the first bear cycle I am going through with other people explaining exactly what is happening as we're going. You don't need to take your life savings and invest in this stuff. But you should be getting some sort of exposure to it. I'm Mr. Shadow, and I hope it helps.